Hello. Welcome to whatever the fuck this is. I already swear in the fuck. Hello, what's going on? It's your boy, the Real Spazdor, the dumb idiot, the Doomfist main that's better than he thinks he is, but is also worse than he thinks he is. Today we're going to be talking the Season 3 Overwatch 2 patch notes, because there's a lot of stuff that's been changed that's going to be changing the game overall. We both got opinions. I'm going to be sharing mine. He's going to be sharing his wrong opinions, and it's going to be a great time. So, um, little backstory on me and my Overwatch experience. I started playing Overwatch in the 2016 Halloween Terror event. I think maybe a little bit beforehand. I started soon after Ana had been added. But I started playing it then, and it very quickly became my most played game. I played on Xbox from when I started in 2016 up until about 2019, like late 2018, early 2019. Been on the PC lobbies ever since. But I'm a Doomfist player, a Genji player, Ana, Kiriko, D.Va I'm really good with. So, yeah, mostly all you need to know is I never want Genji nerfs, and I always want Doomfist buffs. Pretty much, right?
Fair.
Anyway, that's my little backstory.
All right. I played in Overwatch 1. I've been playing pretty much religiously since Overwatch 2 came out. I call myself a tank main, but I mostly play support.
This is true.
It is very true. I grinded up to Plat 1 in support and then stopped playing ranked for the most part. But yeah, so that's a little background into us. We're not the best players, but we're definitely not the worst.
I should probably mention my rank as well.
Yeah, go for it.
So in Overwatch 2 Season 2, I was able to make it up to Plat 5 in support. I'm a Gold 1 tank right now. I believe that could be higher, and I'm not a DPS player. That's down in like Silver 4. However, back in Overwatch 1, when I would play, when I did a strictly Doomfist open queue where I solely played Doomfist throughout my 10 placements, and I landed myself in Diamond, so I know I'm a decent Doomfist. But throughout the 6 years of Overwatch 1, I balanced in between like mid to high plat was where I landed. So like you said, we're not the best players, but we've been around enough and played the game enough to have a little bit of an idea of what we're talking about.
I'd say we're probably like average, if not better than average. A little bit better than average. Not like
Diamond. There's nothing wrong with average.
Yeah. So this is your average gamer's perspective on these changes and everything, which I feel like in the content creation field there isn't a lot of representation on the low end. Like I think there's over representation for people in like bronze and silver because they like complain about everything.
Well, yeah,
and there's a lot of
and silver complains about everything, but pretty much all the big content creators are in the high ranks.
Yeah, like Grandmaster, top 500, Overwatch League, like
yeah.
So even though they're a smaller percentage, they have bigger voices just because a lot of people listen to what they say.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just have a shitload of people underneath the average who complain a lot, and then you have the people who are at the top that have bigger voices. So I feel like there's not a lot of representation for the middle ground.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a backstory on us. But
anyhow,
getting
get into this thing.
Yes. So
we're going to be doing hero changes, not none of this Antarctic, the new map or the streamer. The streamer protect is nice, but like we're going over the hero stuff. So all of this stuff.
Yeah. So starting off with the general hero updates, they reduced the maximum ult charge retained when swapping heroes from 30 to 25%.
Which honestly I'm not too upset about, because the fact that you got to keep any off of your ult when you were switching from character to character was nice.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a buff to everyone in the game, because when you went to go switch heroes, you would be default to 30, and so while that's not like a 50% on your ultimate, it's still hold on. Just it's even though it's not like 50% of your ult being gone, you still get rid of quite a bit. So bringing it down to 25 makes switching characters a little bit more viable with that, because you're not giving up that 5%, if that makes sense. I don't think that makes sense.
So pretty much they're nerfing it from they're getting rid of 5%. Now
It's buffing swapping is pretty much.
it's actually nerfing swapping.
Yeah, I looked at that wrong. I'm
Yeah.
really smart. You know, I'm an average player.
It's fine. But yeah, so they're nerfing swapping, which I've went through the patch notes on my own and developed my own opinions and whatnot. So we can actually do this. Spoiler alert. Pretty much across the board, they're actually changing ult charges for the most part. So this could, depending on which character you're playing, this could mean you swap characters and it takes you even longer to get your ult because their base ult charge is now up, or it's relatively no effect because with a few characters they're reducing how long it takes to get their ult, so it's relatively a net nothing. It's not really a change. So I'm excited to see how it works out, because I've seen
it's a good change if you ask me.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of clips where people have like swapped characters and then just go in, do so much, and then pretty much like in 45 seconds have their ult.
Yeah.
So like
that's a bit abusable, but like bringing it down is gonna help with that. And honestly, this nerf isn't gonna be too noticeable because a lot of times when you're like within 10% of your ult, unless you're not doing the damage to get it, if you're not doing the damage to get it, you're probably gonna die. But you're not gonna die. You're not gonna die at 99% and be like, "Oh, dude, that's because of that nerf." You're gonna be like, "Oh, my positioning was off, or I didn't land the shot on the Widow and I got picked off because of it." You know, it's because of in-game things that not getting your ult is going to I fucking Jesus. But it's going to be in-game situations that are going to prevent you from getting your ult, not this nerf. This nerf is just general.
Yeah. It's across the board. It's for everybody. So it's just like, it still leaves everything up to you. Like, yeah, you can swap, go in there, do everything. Like, I saw a clip of Symmetra who swapped. Like, literally, like, they were playing, like, Hanzo or something, had 50% ult charge, swapped to Symmetra, had the 30, teleported in, just started melting everybody because Symmetra, and then immediately got her ult. Well, if you're going in there and doing so much, even if you didn't, like, if you just ulted and then did that much, you're still going to build your ult charge faster. I don't think the 30% was that bad. So even nerfing it to 25%, you're probably still going to get your ult charge that quickly.
But, like,
it's just going to be
short. I don't think anyone is going to be upset with this change.
No, I don't think anybody's going to be upset with this change. No,
I think it's healthier.
Yeah. So another thing. Moving on from that.
Yeah, moving on from that.
They added a new tank roll passive, wherein open queue, where like you can have like 3 or 4 tanks on your team or whatnot like that, including mystery heroes. They're nerfing the amount of health that tanks have. I'm not going to go into specifics about it, but I feel like it's a good change because it like the open queue meta has just been 3 tanks, 2 supports, and I feel like this is going to change that.
Yeah. So it's literally every single game mode that doesn't have role queues. That also means your deathmatch games, you're gonna have tanks that are a little bit weaker. So when you go into a deathmatch, you don't have to pick a tank to be able to win that. Because like say like, hey, I kind of want to play Genji, but there are 7 other Roadhogs in my lobby, and I can't do anything to them. Right? This is gonna bring this is gonna make that a little bit better. With capture the flag where you could run multiple tanks out. It's a good change because when you played any other game mode that wasn't role queue, the tanks were just the hero to pick because of the fact that they were so overpowered, because the game revolves around the tank now.
Yeah.
Much more than it did in Overwatch 1.
Yeah, because in Overwatch 2, they giga buffed the tanks because now there's only 1 tank.
Yeah, but the 2-to-1 tank change is great, but this is them kind of seeing how that worked out across the entire game instead of their main game mode, and then adding a feature like this to help even out the feeling of the game.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit lower down in the patch notes, but I'm pissed off that Doomfist has 300 health in every other game mode now, because any Doomfist nerf is going to keep me livid, dog. I'll be honest, I read that when I was scripting my video for this week yesterday. I was reading through that, and at my desk, no one's here. I'm not recording. It's like, oh, Doomfist health reduction. What the hell?
Yeah.
I don't care. It's not roll queue.
Yeah, but I feel like this will definitely change the meta for open queue and everything. So
I'm excited for that, because open queue is fun. Open queue is a lot of fun.
Open queue is very fun. It's just not fun when you are forced to pick 3 tanks because they also have 3 tanks.
Forcing goats. It didn't work in Overwatch 1, and it's not going to work in Overwatch 2, no matter how fun you make the tanks.
Exactly. So, all right. So
let's move on to D.va.
Well, so most of these...
The next few tank changes are going to be the effects of this new tank passive within all the some of these change. Most of these changes are, but some of them are general changes.
Yeah. So for D.Va, we have the mech base health and roll queue modes remains the same, but in non-roll queue modes reduced from 350 to 200. So that means if you're not in the roll queue, you only have 200 base health. You still have the same amount of armor.
Yeah,
and they pretty much did this.
Normal health.
Yeah, they pretty much did this across all the tanks. So I'm just gonna skim through them real quick. So you have Doomfist. What's up?
He's at 300 health now.
Yes, he is at 300 health now.
Which is a buff from DPS Doomfist. DPS Doomfist was only 250.
Fair. That's a net buff. That's a buff.
That's a net buff.
Junkerqueen also goes down to 300, but in base game, in roll queue, they increased her health from 425 to 450.
I'd be honest, when I've been playing through Junkerqueen the first 2 seasons, I felt like that she dies a little bit too easily, so giving her the 25 extra health is actually really good, because yeah, that's more damage for them to take out from you, but that's also a bigger health bar for you to be able to refill with your passive bleed healing.
Yeah. I feel like this is a good buff for her survivability, specifically because of her passive ability to regain her own health by dealing damage. So
yeah, this isn't just a buff to her health; it's also a buff to her passive.
Yeah, so I think that's a good change. I think I was saying that I think season 1 before they buffed her, like with her passive and everything. So it's glad to see that they're taking some other things into account. So
with Orisa, she has had her non-roll queue health reduced down to 125, which is fair. I mean, her health remains the same. However, she did get a nerf. I believe this is a general nerf to everything, with her fall off range being reduced. So she's not going to be she's much more of a threat closer than she is being able to poke through choke point.
Yeah.
Which I'm a fan of, because Orisa is a brawler character now, which means she has to be up in your face. So getting picked off from an Orisa that is finishing a fight while you're backing out, and you're pretty much already out, and she just happens to chip some damage through, it's going to make that feel a lot better with being able to get out, as opposed to having Orisa be the one answer to pretty much everything.
Yeah, that's pretty much what Orisa became, is the answer to any situation.
Yeah. Oh, what's this? There's a Reinhardt you don't like? Play Orisa. What's that? Roadhog is being played? Play Orisa. Doomfist? Orisa.
Orisa pretty much quickly became the answer to everything. I feel like the one change that they'd made last season that changed that is the way her ult worked. So they buffed her twice in the same patch. They made her ult go through shields, which I agree with, because it's technically a melee ability.
Yep.
And also they did the damage fall off. They increased it from 15 to 25. Now they're just removing that. So now we have a slightly nerfed Orisa from base patch, because they last patch, like the little one like 2 weeks before the end of the season, they brought her what was it? Her fortify health down. So instead of getting like 125 extra health, you only get like 75.
I thought that was only a minus 25 nerf.
I think pretty sure it was a minus 50. Either way. Because of fortify reducing your damage, that's any amount of extra health is automatically more impactful. So, but so now,
honestly, this is a solid like 40% nerf, I believe, with how much less range she has. It should be around 40% being taken away from her, which is honestly a lot of space.
Yeah.
And so Orisa's really going to have to be the up close and personal to control space, not to win a fight, but just to control space. She's gonna have to be close, instead of kind of holding back at a high ground or a choke point.
Yeah. So she pretty much, with the buff that they gave her, increasing it to 25 meters, made her a close to mid range. Now they're taking away that mid range, making her really a close up brawler, which I think is a great idea.
Good. It's good for the game. Maybe not great for Orisa, but it's good for the game.
Because honestly, I feel like in most situations you should be able to pick any character and do well, and just having one character that can do everything very well. Like a few things she does extremely well, but like be able to do everything decently is kind of a little busted.
Yeah, and that really that breaks counterplay, and it's not healthy for the game. So this is a great change.
Exactly. All right, now moving on to Ramattra. This is a change that I have been wanting ever since Ramattra came out.
Not the open queue nerfs.
Not the open queue nerf. Yeah, so Ramattra gets the same treatment as Doomfist and Junkerqueen.
Pretty much all the other tanks.
In non-roll queue modes, reduced from 450 to 300. Whatever. That's the same thing across all the tanks. That's going to be the same thing. Well, Annihilation, they changed it. So now his ult doesn't last forever. It only lasts up to 20 seconds.
Yes.
Which is amazing. I'm pretty sure you and I had a game the other day where we had two Ramattras in the game, one on our team, one on the opposing, and they ulted and they were just standing there, just like menacingly blocking at each other.
Oasis Gardens. Literally everyone had backed off, and we just saw the Ramattras 1v1ing.
Yeah, and then you and I were on support, and we're just like fucking pumping heals into the fucking our Ramattra, and the enemy team was pumping heals into their Ramattra, and they were both just not dying, and it lasted for like what, a minute before somebody did something, like fucking sleep the other Ramattra or something.
But you see, with this change, it's not the capping at 20 seconds that I'm really most intrigued by, because it's not a 20-second timer. How the ultimate works now is it's going to go down at normal speed when there's no one within your range, but when someone is in your range, it's only slowed down.
Yeah.
And so the range that this ultimate can go from is anywhere from 4 seconds all the way to 20 seconds. However, with it being slowed, you're probably gonna have to have someone in your within your radius of damage every single second of that to get it to be 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Because if someone steps out for even a half a second, that's already a fourth of your ult gone.
Yeah.
And time goes very, very quickly in Overwatch. So, you could be chasing down a Genji who has a defaultly faster movement speed than everyone else in the game, and he could get out and be pressing S while you're pressing W, and just because of that, he's going to walk out, and your ult's going to be it's gonna die out.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad that it's a slow.
Yes.
And that 20 seconds would have to be if you're
that is the optimal situation. Like you press it right next to their tank and you don't leave their side. It lasts for a maximum of 20 seconds.
Yeah, I believe
So
in my season 2 launching video, and I believe you had it in one of your videos, in your Ramattra your Ramattra tutorial video, both of us in the training range just pressed Q and stood still while the bots took damage. My timer went up to like 3 minutes. Yours went to I don't
I think
remember
mine
how it go.
lasted for like fucking, because I swapped the tank to Roadhog since he has such a huge
Same.
health pool. I literally just like pressed Alt and walked away from my keyboard. I think I went to like make myself some hot chocolate or something.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, right when I came back, that's when it ended. And I was gone for like 5 minutes, 6 minutes.
And that was honestly season 2. That was the average Ramattra experience, to be honest.
Yeah. Like across all roles, I was seeing Ramattra ults just lasting forever. So I'm really happy for this change, especially since they increased the ult cost.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about the ult costs. And a lot of tanks are getting increased ult costs, while, spoiler alert down the line, a lot of DPSs are having decreased ult costs. And
Yeah.
I think this is pretty healthy, very healthy, because, yeah, over the last 2 seasons, the tanks have been so dominant where if you had a really bad tank, you might as well have lost the game.
Yeah.
But
I think they're
taking the tanks and bringing them down here, or taking the DPS and bringing them up here, is gonna make the DPS feel like more of a clutch role, as opposed to the tanks feeling like they have to. If they're not there, you might as well, you might as well just back out, which is the case mostly. But like, uh, say like a male, which is going to be building faster now, you're going to be getting that a lot more often, so you can be saving time and making space with your ult while your tank is coming back.
Yeah. I feel like they're trying to take some of the power from the tank, from their ultimate, and bringing it into the DPS role, which
is a good power transfer. It really is a good power transfer.
It really is. And especially with a lot of the ults that they did buff can be game changers, like instant team wipes and like instant flip of the switch to losing a fight to stomping the other team. I think it's great because especially with Ramattra, I can't tell you how many times we were winning a team fight, the Ramattra pops ult, and then all of a sudden we lose because
you could be up 5-3. Ramattra presses Q, and you literally just have to walk off the point.
Yeah, you have to run away,
because
or you die.
Through playing enough, the 2 ways you can deal with a Ramattra ultimate is either walk away or kill, or every single person on your team is pressing a damage ability onto Ramattra to kill him.
Yeah. And if you don't have an Ana to take away the healing from the supports behind him, most likely,
he's just going to block.
He's just going to block, and he's going to deal passive damage to you. So with his ult coming up less often and it being less powerful with how much time he can have it up, I think it's going to help a lot. He's not going to be the whole, like, it's not going to be the press Q to win this team fight button anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because that's what it was. Is if you want to win the fight, press Q.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's enough on Ramattra. We're going to move over to Reinhardt. These are changes that I'm looking forward to.
Yes, because one of the Overwatch community's favorite things to say is, hey, if you want to make the game fun, buff Reinhardt.
Yeah. I have never been upset with a Reinhardt meta.
Yeah. We don't really need to cover the open queue nerf, but
yeah,
his health is dropping.
His health is dropped in open queue. Moving on. So Rocket Hammer, they reduced the knockback on it from 10 to 6. So pretty much if you didn't know, if you get smashed by Reinhardt's hammer, you get a little bit of knockback, right?
You get moved left or right depending on which way you swing his hammer.
Yeah, so they pretty much just reduced that. I feel like if a Reinhardt
is a big buff, actually. Very big buff.
I feel like if a Reinhardt is brawling somebody with them moving less, he's going to be able to swing on them a little bit more accurately and keep them closer to him. But
exactly.
On the other hand, I have used his swings to like displace somebody before and just like mess them up. So I still need to
a little bit higher rank game sense, because I think anywhere like gold below, you're just kind of using the hammer to damage him instead of thinking of where it's going to be putting him.
Yeah.
But this enables his chase a lot more. You see, it's a bigger buff than it is a nerf because it is a slight nerf because when you're moving people around less, they'll be able to, since they're not being knocked around so much, they'll be able to more accurately shoot at you.
Yeah.
That's the only. It's a really small nerf, but it's worth mentioning.
Yes.
But this mostly just allows him to chase down whatever target he's targeting at any given moment a lot easier and a little bit more efficient.
Yeah. I think it's a good change. And then onto charge 8 to 7 seconds. You can charge in.
Again, it's increasing his chase capability, which is good.
I also think this is a great change because earlier in this, I forget whether it was beginning of season 2 or like end of season 1, they nerfed his charge damage. So I feel like with the nerf to the charge damage, but making it available more often, it's just gonna, it kind of equals out.
With charge, let's take a look at a few of the other tanks' movement abilities. Doomfist punch, 4 seconds, still pissed. Winston jump, like I believe that's 6 or 7.
It's a low cooldown.
We don't really need to talk about Ramattra. He doesn't have too much, but Wrecking Ball, his chain hook.
That's like a 5-second cooldown.
Hook, that's 5 seconds.
And on top of like making him able to soar through the sky, gives him a ridiculous speed buff.
D.va's booster, 4 seconds. Like a lot of the tanks are super mobile, and if they're not super mobile, it's because they are they're much more of a wall than a jumping hero.
Yeah, like
but you see, Reinhardt is like a very good medium between those two types of tanks, where you're either a wall or you're on the move, and I'm really like how they reduce the cooldown because of the fact that it's going to allow him to be on the move a little bit more.
Yeah, it's going to increase his mobility, make it to where if you're in the situation where somebody's not paying attention and you can just pin them and kill them, it's up more often. So it's just a net buff. It's a good change.
Yeah,
having an ability up more often, depending on the ability, is usually a good thing to bring up characters' power up.
Yeah.
So,
Fire Strike being increased from 90 to 100 back to where it was at in Overwatch 1. This I'm a little bit shaky on because 100 damage is it's a lot of damage. All right, that's the same amount of damage Doomfist does in the maximum of his second tier of his ultimate, and this is on a cooldown with 2 charges on it already.
Yeah. And it goes through barriers and everything.
I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of frustration this season with players who are trying to disengage and just happen to get clipped barely by a Fire Strike when they were like just below half.
I feel like as a person who likes playing Reinhardt, this is going to feel good.
Don't get me wrong. I love playing Reinhardt.
But playing against a Reinhardt, it's probably going to feel horrible. Because this also, if you get paired with a Baptiste and he uses Amp Matrix and you Fire Strike through the Amp Matrix, you can one-shot somebody.
Yeah, that's back now.
So, yeah. So I feel like people are now going to... It's a slippery slope, but I feel like people are going to like have to play around it. They're going to just have to get used to it again.
Yeah, because the way I look at these patch notes is how does it feel for the character and how does it feel for everyone else, unless it's about Doomfist or Genji.
As Doomfist and Genji, you don't care how everybody else feels.
I don't care. I don't bring back the first 2 weeks of season 2 Doomfist now, please. But
honestly, even if they just brought him back to season 1, it would be better than what we have now.
Anyhow, but like, yeah, the Fire Strike is real slippery slope. It's gonna be fun for Ryan players. It's gonna be frustrating for everyone else.
Yeah.
Earth Shatter.
So I think this is a net nerf, but
it's just changing how the ultimate acts really.
Yeah. So direct hit damage reduced from 250 to 170. So pretty much I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen the memes of like the honest sleep dart somebody and the Reinhardt just fucking walks up and just smashes them in the face and insta kills them, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to be a meme anymore, right? Now you will like in a lot of those clips, the nano boost the Rein before he does that. I'm pretty sure that will still one-shot somebody. Nano boosted Earth Shatter, definitely one-shot capable.
The only thing with
But
nano boost, the only character that enables that the nano boost enables to kill that it normally wouldn't would be Bastion or a tank.
yeah. But now
Which
that it's reduced from 250, so 250 was enough to kill everybody but Bastion, and I think Torbjorn, if he uses his ability, which gives him extra health, because he does have armor.
No, yeah, the armor makes it to where he has technically 280 health.
Yeah.
I believe.
So you can't. So the only two characters that you couldn't one shot with a direct hit Earth Shatter were Bastion and Torbjorn, but literally swing on them, fire strike them afterwards, they're dead, right? This is pretty much making that to where you have to do this on everybody that you do.
Mm-hmm.
But the knockdown duration is increased from 2.5 to 2.75 seconds. So it's a fourth of a second. That. It's a fourth of a second. I feel like a lot of people aren't going to notice this, but it's going to...
It's the thing that you don't notice immediately, but after playing against Orion enough, you're going to be like, I'm down so long, there's no counterplay to it.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm that this worries me, once again, Doomfist player, I know all about stun durations being buffed and nerfed from playing that guy. And if 1.5 seconds of stun already feels like too much, then 2.75 is gonna feel like a year.
Yeah. I feel like a better change overall probably would have been keep the direct hit damage, but if you reduced the actual like AoE damage, like the cone that he sends out, if you reduce that damage and have it only be a knockdown, that I can see. Because that's
a little bit more of a radical change, if you ask me.
It's more radical, but I don't know. I feel like the slight increase. I feel like a lot of people in the lower tiers probably aren't going to notice it a lot, but a lot of people who play a lot and have that muscle memory or that like internal clock running, being like, okay, yeah, I'll have enough time to do something.
Yeah,
it's going to throw that off.
Most of the shatters that I've followed up, they're down on the ground long enough to where you can pump enough damage in to where they, even when they're about to stand up, Reinhardt has walked over to them to slam his hammer into them after, Sojourn has pumped some Sojourn or Genji or May have pumped some damage into them to where they're all nice and weak, and adding a longer stun to it it's gonna buff bad players. Which is kind of a shitty thing to say, but like it's gonna buff bad players because it gives you extra time. The time it had already was enough for you to get a team wipe.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely a net buff. Definitely a net buff to fucking
100% a net buff, because the direct hit damage is like when you're right in front of them. You'll use the ult to get someone at range because you don't have the most of that with Ryan.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, most of the time, like I wasn't using Earth Shatter to one shot a fucking squishy. I was usually using it on their tank. That way I can pin right afterwards and kill them. Unless it was a fucking like Orisa or something, or a Roadhog who have ridiculous amounts of health and armor.
Yeah.
Orisa. But yeah, so also ult cost increased by 7%. So you're gonna have your ult up less.
You're gonna have it less, but Ryan builds it really fast. It's not too big a deal.
It's barely gonna be noticeable. So moving on to Roadhog.
Roadhog, he got the general nerf with all the open queue tanks. However, they increased the duration of his ultimate from 6 seconds to 8 seconds. Which honestly I'm completely fine with, because of the fact that now that you can use Roadhog's abilities while he's ulting, those abilities take up time in the ultimate timer. So say, oh, I'm not around too many people, I want to hook that Ana that's in the back line right there. That hook, those 2 seconds are going to be for that the ability cast time.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have the uptime that the devs actually wanted, which is the 6 seconds. It's a lot different of an ult since it switched from Overwatch 1 where it's just a channeling ult, and now you can usabilities in it. So this is good change for Roadhog, especially after all the changes he received in that late season patch last season.
Yeah, where he can no longer like he can still pick people, but it's a little bit more involved. You can't just like grab somebody at full health.
Your chain hooks are much more relied on for your team to help with some of that damage.
Or just grab a fucking half health target.
Yeah,
So,
but I'm talking if you want early pick like how it used to be played.
Yeah, early pick was literally just to grab anybody, and if they're at 250 health or less,
Press
they
W mouse 1 melee, and then they're dead.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like with the nerf to the one shot, they just transferred some of that power into his ult, especially since
Which is
you can
fine
use
because
abilities.
ult felt weak anyway. It really did.
And the ult cost increased by 8%. Whatever. That's like an extra vape.
Yeah, that's not a big deal.
It's not that big of a deal.
And you got it back.
Exactly. So
there's not too much to cover on Roadhog there anymore, though.
Yeah. Something that I don't understand, going into next with Sigma, across the board, I have seen a lot of people, even like across all ranks, skill tiers, what you call it. Sigma has always been people's choice for the most balanced tank.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I do.
All right, because I also agree, which is why I'm confused of why they changed them.
Well, they changed his ultimate cost because that's a general across. They're doing a general across the board with a lot of tanks with increasing their ult cost. I think Sigma is all right because he didn't have too much damage. But why Sigma is the most balanced tank now is because his barrier being projected can help save you from a numerous amounts of things, whether it be an ultimate that the enemy thinks they have an opening for and that you can project that barrier, but it's not broken in the fact that when he recalls it, he has to wait 2 seconds before he can redeploy it.
Yeah, and it's not like
a good shield ability because it's not like you're playing Reinhardt where you could like, oh, I'm gonna put up my shield, oh, no, take it down, it's right back up,
yeah. And something like what was it, like in contrast to like Winston Bubble that has the exact same amount of same amount of health but more protection because it's a dome, it's a bubble.
It's because Winston and Sigma's barriers are used very differently.
Yeah.
Because Sigma, now you have to use your barrier with a purpose. You can't put it at a choke point and expect it to do anything. You gotta send it out when you need it.
Yeah.
But like the barrier is balanced in that fact. Sigma is a lot of fun to play because he has one-shot pick capability, but it's always a skill shot.
Yeah, it is 100%
always
skill.
A skill shot, and he also has a damage absorption ability, which is also a game sense to absorb ultimates like Graviton Surge or Blizzard from May,
or just a random Bastion.
Yeah, and that it gives him health, but not too much health.
Yeah,
and sometimes if he gets a little bit separated from his team, he has the regenerable shield, regeneratable shields, which allows him to keep up his health without having to look for a health back too much, which is actually something that we're going to be going into later with Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, but honestly, ultimate cost increase 7%. Honestly, the only change, because it's an across,
a little bit less.
Yeah, since it's an across the board kind of thing with all the tanks, I'm okay with it. Because it's kind of just like what we went over earlier, the power shift from the ultimates and tanks in general over to more DPS. I'm okay with it because the rest of the tanks are getting the treatment. It's not like they soloed him out, but Sigma is very balanced. That's the only change that they needed to do because that's the only change he needed to fit in with the rest of the tanks.
Yeah.
So going on to Winston, barrier protector, the thing we were just talking about. Health reduced from 700 to 650. What do you think about this change? What are your opinions on this change?
I mean, it's gonna bring Winston down a little bit in dive meta. It's not gonna bring him down a whole bunch. But I have a feeling they're either going to revert this change or they're going to decrease the barrier cooldown after this, depending on how this performs. Because Winston was already pretty all right. He wasn't the best tank, but he definitely wasn't the worst tank.
Mm-hmm.
Because Winston counters a lot of the brawlers in the game, like Orisa and Doomfist. Well, sort of Doomfist,
Sort of
but
Doomfist.
sort of Doomfist. Because what he just jumps right over where they are and goes to your back line,
Yeah.
and unless you got some heavy damage in the back line, generally that barrier was able to protect you long enough for you to tickle someone down.
Yeah.
But with the damage, with the health it has being reduced, you're gonna have to be a little bit more picky, choosy with what characters you want to dive onto, because you never dive onto a Reaper, but sometimes you can get away with diving onto a Soldier 76.
Yeah, like a soldier, a Zenyatta is a very easy pick.
Yeah,
Pretty much any
but like,
support except like a Mercy, but Mercy changes.
yeah, because generally, if you're diving a soldier, yeah, he has his health regen from his ability, but you can push him out of that because you're a big tank,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, it's just gonna make Winston players have to be a little bit more careful with when they're diving.
Yeah. I think it's a good change, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be all too impactful because it's only like 50 health on a shield. And honestly, from what I've seen in my games at like gold to plat level, high plat, even some diamond games that I got in somehow, a lot of people just choose not to shoot the shield.
Yeah, yeah,
So
because sometimes it just that could also be just bad positioning on a shield where it's not in a high value position, but.
yeah. So
I've seen a little bit of the same.
yeah, but yeah.
That's
Altogether,
good.
slight nerf to Winston.
Yeah, slight nerf.
Now, big changes to Wrecking Ball.
Which I am all here for, actually, because Wrecking Ball has been underperforming for a while. The devs didn't really want to change him too much from 1 to 2, and they really didn't because he's pretty decent at doing the whole one tank job.
The thing is, with a Wrecking Ball, if you have a bad Wrecking Ball, he barely does anything. He's more of a minor nuisance. If you have a good Wrecking Ball, he will destroy your world.
Yeah, yeah.
So now they're kind of bringing that skill ceiling down a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Which I'm all right with, because that makes the general player base being able to play him a little bit easier.
Having a character that more people can play is not a bad thing. And
yeah, go ahead.
So base health and roll Q modes reduced from 600 to 450, but they gave him shields.
This
equating
is the
to
biggest buff. In my opinion, the shield health is the biggest buff he's ever received.
Yes, shield health is underrated as fuck.
Yeah, because
especially on ball,
it's the same amount of health as normal health, except it regenerates. And with a character that's generally off on his own and having to scout for health packs when he's low because his healers are at spawn or healing the DPS at the time, having a little bit of your own health that is always going to be there after you've been out of combat for a little bit is so good for him.
Oh, yeah.
So good for him.
Especially because it's just like the way that I've seen ball players do it. Because I don't really play ball myself. The only time I ever played ball was for my tank video going over ball, so I can get gameplay. Other than that, I haven't really played ball. I'm not a ball player or whatnot. But from what I've seen of other people playing him, you go in, you try to get a pick. If it doesn't work out, you run away, grab a health pack, go to your healers, get back up to full, and then try it again, right? So this pretty much allows you to have more escape options because now you have a guaranteed little bit of health that from your total that is always going to come back whether you get a health pack or not.
Yeah.
So
and they're also the pile driver buff from being reduced from 10 to 8 seconds is going to increase how often he can engage, because a lot of times 8 seconds is really all you need to go in, try. If it doesn't work out, get heals, and then go right back.
Yeah,
because that's like you said, that's his play style, right? And pile driver is his biggest setup ability. Because while you can set up by just hitting people when you're flaming and you're going really fast, The pile driver boosts everyone up to where you can have your DPS take a shot at them.
His pile driver is
Something
pretty
like
much
that.
his burst damage, right?
So yeah, this is going to increase his damage. It's going to increase his setup potential, and it's going to increase how active he is.
Yeah,
which are three very good things.
exactly. And then on top of that, pile driver into minefield is now buffed. So minefield
And
cost
the
increased
army,
by 9%, right? Net thing that's across the board for all tank ultimates. But arming time reduced from 1.5 to 1 second, which means you can pile drive into minefield and they're probably going to get stuck in it.
and honestly, that's not bad because a lot of times, because I have played a little ball. I do enjoy playing ball. A lot of times you would go in, you would press your ultimate first. They would lay on the ground and you would pile drive. But by the time the enemy team hits the ground from your pile drive, they have that half a second to move out of the way before they arm.
Yeah. So
And
now that
so this makes his ult much more lethal, which is very good for him because honestly, I think I remember maybe one play from a ball that completely swept the team within my last 2 seasons of playing the game.
yeah, because
One time.
usually the play around a minefield is you put down the minefield and you try to push people into the minefield.
Yeah.
Whereas now you can set it up on top of them. So it used to be a slight inconvenience, and if you have good boop characters or whatnot, good displacement characters, it can be you can use it well. I feel like this is just going to increase the use case of it.
Yeah.
So really good ball changes. If you're a ball player yourself, you're just gonna have a better time playing ball.
Yeah, it's gonna be more fun, which is what they want.
Which is what, yeah. I don't care about skill or whatnot. At the end of the day, if the general player base is having fun, that's all that matters. Right? Except for Sojourn. Fuck Sojourn. If you're a Sojourn main, fuck you. Anyways.
Wow! I'm not even a Sojourn main, but I get that shit for playing Doomfist. Fuck you, dog.
Listen, a Doomfist actually takes like skill. Sojourn is just pew 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 right click.
Sojourn's skill level is the same argument as being angry at Widow, and I know you're angry at Widow.
I am also angry at Widow. I'm also angry at Hanzo. I had a game yesterday where I literally couldn't walk out of my spawn because I kept getting headshot.
We love to see it.
Yeah. Take one shots out of the game. Please.
Anyways. Zarya's just got the general ultimate increase. There really isn't too much to say on Zarya. But
yeah, she got the non-roll Q health reduction and the general ultimate cost increase. Not much else.
That brings an end to the tanks. I don't think we really need to talk much more about Zarya.
Zarya's in a good place right now.
Yeah, she is.
I think she's in a good place.
Anyway, down to damage.
All right, so starting off with Cassidy. Go for it.
Cassidy had his primary fire fall off range increased from 20 to 25 meters, which makes him much more of a threat as a hit scan than he was before, because he can be able to pop you from farther away. And these range buffs and nerfs mean a lot more to DPS than it did to Orisa, we talked about how Orisa has to be much more of a brawler because that's her playstyle. Just the opposite for the hit scan characters, because they need the range, because if you can aim well and you can murk someone out of the sky, you could feel some frustration playing Cassidy in the first 2 seasons where it's like, they aren't even that far away. Why is my damage being dropped off? So this is good change for him, in my opinion.
It brings him more in line with like the mid-range P shooter or 6 shooter play style he has.
Yeah, which that's part of his character personality that's kind of been missing for a little bit.
Yeah. So the question that I have is the fall off range. As far as I can tell, the start of it has been buffed to 25 meters. I'm wondering if they also buffed the end range. Like when the damage stops falling off, or if they
didn't mention it. If they didn't mention it, it's more than likely staying the same.
Yeah, because
I don't know what his max fall off range is.
Neither do I. I haven't done the research on it yet. But not yet. It's coming up after my Bastion. Anyways, but if they did increase it, his maximum fall off range, by 5 as well, that's going to be
That'd be a problem if you ask me.
I don't think that's a problem because then it's just like you just have an extra 5 because honestly his damage at that range is minimal.
Yeah, it's minimal, but that can allow for a Widowmaker kind of range to pick you off when you're low trying to get out of the fight. I think increasing the range that his maximum damage can be in effect is fine, but increasing the overall range, I feel like could get out of hand because that fall off range scales to how far the between the max damage and where there's no damage. That's a scaling. So if you were to buff that that range, just for the max range in general, that means when you're getting shot at, let's say the max range, because I don't know right now, is 40,
Yeah.
right? If you're being shot at 40 before, it's like 1 damage. If you're gonna get shot at 40 when it's at 40 meters, when the maximum range say gets buffed to 45, that's gonna be 10 or 15 damage hitting you, which sometimes is what you're at when you're getting trying to get out, and they're just doing some quick as you get away shots at you.
Yeah. I will say almost no character does the one character that I've done research for that only does 1 damage when they're at max fall off is D.va. She does half a damage if you're out of her range, like completely. So
and so like it could be even more at
that. I'm pretty sure like I said, I haven't done the research for it, but I'm pretty sure Cassidy's would probably be a fall off to like 8 damage.
Yeah, so. But like when you scale that up, it's just going to be even more.
It's probably going to be
which is why increasing the max range is very stingy.
So if they only increase when it starts to fall off, but the maximum is the same, I feel like it's a good change, right? If they also increased the maximum range for damage fall off, I feel like it could be a little powerful, but like that will pretty much enable him to actually be a counter to like Phara's, because honestly right now I would rather go Ashe to take out like a Flying Mercy Phara or an Echo versus Cassidy.
You see, mid-team fight, Cassidy is still a pretty decent counter to Phara and Echo, just because mid-team fight, everyone's generally a little bit closer. This is when you're defending as Phara, it's a little bit harder to play Cassidy into that.
Yeah.
She can just peek from high buildings while you can't do much damage to her. But mid-fight, Cassidy is still a good counter.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's not a good counter to Phara. Like, if you're a good Cassidy, but not a good Ashe, go Cassidy against a Phara.
Yeah.
But as a meh Cassidy and an all right Ashe, I'm going to pick Ashe.
Yeah.
So, but just giving that an extra 5 meters to play with buffs him. And then also his combat role. Movement is no longer blocked by player collision. This pretty much gives him a Dark Souls role. You just have a, like...
This isn't the combat role nerf buff I wanted to see, though.
What kind of buff did you want to see?
I wanted to see a nerf to Cassidy's role, because when Cassidy is rolling in the duration, the cast duration of the roll, he has 50% damage reduction.
Mm-hmm.
So that means if Tracer sticks a pulse bomb on him and he rolls, he just lives right through that, and that is an ultimate ability being negated by a fucking cooldown.
That happened to me before. That's actually happened to
me. There are some abilities that are supposed to counter ultimates. Cassidy's role is more of movement / reload, as opposed to giving it resistance to big ultimates like that. Or it just I know it's because if he didn't have that, it would he'd be so much easier to take out. But I wanted to see a reduction of damage. I wanted to see the damage reduction decreased is what I wanted to see. But I'm not upset with the buff that he got here, because it's frustrating to when it's like, oh, I'm gonna roll this way. Oh, what's that? there's a skinny Widowmaker in my way. Like, okay.
Yeah, it just makes it's pretty much a quality of life change, honestly.
Yeah, that's all it is, really.
Just make sure nothing can interrupt your movement.
That's quite literally what it says in the dev comments.
Oh, I have not been reading those.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it does.
Combat roll not being blocked by players is mostly a small quality of life change.
Fair. All right. Moving on to Junkrat.
You got this.
All right, so concussion maximum damage reduced from 120 to 100. If you don't know what the concussion mine is, it is his not alt fire, but his ability. He throws it out. It's a mine. He can detonate it when he wants. They just brought the damage down from 120 to 100, so the range at which you can he can still one shot squishies with his primary to concussion combo, but now you have to be more accurate. The range at which you can do it is now lessened. I think I was seeing a video. I watched a video of somebody going over the changes because they were playing on the PTS or something like that, and they showed
BTR.
Yeah, BTR, whatever.
Got him.
Anyways, but they showed exactly how much it is. It's still possible. If you fucking trap concussion mine and somebody gets stuck in it, you can still one shot them with that. That's not taken away. But now you can't now you have to be a little bit more accurate with your random one shot combo just sneaking up on somebody.
Yeah, I have more Doomfist complaints because this nerf is it somewhat affects it, but when Junk throws a concussion mine at your block, solid 90% of the time it gives you 0 damage blocked. I just want them to do something with that, and reducing this damage isn't fucking helping. I'm gonna be honest with you. Do you know the amount of times I'm in the face of a Junkrat and he'll throw his mine at me and I just get booped back with no damage fucking blocked? Oh my god. Buff Doom.
They nerfed Junkrat, buff Doomfist. This is a nerf of Doomfist. But yeah, no, I feel like this is. I feel like they're trying to bring characters away from one shot potential.
Yeah, which is great.
Which is great.
That's what frustrates people the most in this game, really.
I know it frustrates me, so I'm glad to see this change. As a person who plays Junkrat, I'm a little sad, but I'm usually pretty accurate with my concussion mine, so I feel like I might feel it a little bit.
If you can land his primary fire, the concussion mine literally is just cleanup.
Yeah, exactly. So, but altogether, taking away a little bit of the range on a one shot, it's still there, but it's a little bit of a tighter skill. So, good change. I like it.
The next three heroes, which would be Mei, Phara, and Reaper, are just getting the general DPS buff to reducing their ultimate. However, Reaper's ultimate is being reduced by 8%, while Phara's and Mei's are being reduced by 5%. So Reaper is going to have his ult up much more now.
Yes, much more. So be on the lookout for them dirty Reapers, because is that a fucking ultimate?
Yeah.
All right, so
yeah, I'm fine with those.
Yeah, I'm fine with
those. The soldier changes, I'm very happy with.
This is, I'm not sure if they say it in the actual developer comments. Does not look like it, but this is pretty much just a quality of life change for Soldier 76.
I don't see it as just a quality of life change, though. Can I explain why?
Of course.
So, what this does is the optimal way to play Soldier is to hold down your primary fire until your recoil maxes out. Stop. It's shoot, stop, shoot, stop, shoot, stop, up to that bullet amount. And fours can be slightly hard to track if you don't have the muscle memory. But what this does is it brings him a little bit farther up to the skill ceiling of some of the other hit scan characters. I think mostly Sojourn whenever I'm comparing a hit scan to anyone, despite her not being the most hit scan, but whatever.
I mean, she has a projectile speed of 160, so
it gives him more. Hold on. What this does is it gives him more control over his damage, and so he's going to be able to land more damage. And the recoil being reduced by a huge 12%, it's going to make him feel like a much more consistent shooter.
yeah. I feel like people at the high end, like GM plus, or not GM, like Diamond plus, even like for me, I'm a decent soldier. I have decent recoil control. I'm probably not going to feel. I'm going to feel this change a little bit, but it's not really going to change my damage output all that much unless I'm like trying to beam somebody at very long range.
Yeah, I guess.
But for the average person who doesn't have very good recoil control, because like I come from Apex, I'm able to beam people down in Apex. Recoil control in Apex Legends is key when you're trying to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
So when I swapped over, when I was playing Soldier 76, it was just kind of like muscle memory. It's just like, oh, I have to drag down when I shoot with this character a little bit. Okay, that's muscle memory for me. So it's more natural, which is why I'm really good at Soldier 76, especially with recoil control. So I feel like the reduction is just going to make him more playable for the lower end of the skill tier.
Yeah.
So
but yeah, just generally good. Generally good change.
Good change. I think it brings him a little bit more in line with like the characters who don't have recoil control. Like you still have to control your recoil. Now you just have to do it a little bit less.
Yeah.
So good change. Yeah. Makes him a little bit more powerful, but all right. Next. Sombra.
Getting a damage buff.
Yes. From 7 to 7.5.
But that is per projectile.
Yeah, per projectile. And she has an SMG that shoots out a lot of projectiles. So
let me whip out my calculator real quick, just to tell you how much of a between one clip. So she has, I believe, 60 in her mag. So it used to be, oh Jesus, a max of, I believe, 420 damage. Out of one clip. I think it might be a bit less, but I think it's 60 because it fires really fast. But a max of 420. With that being brought up to 7.5 in a 60 round clip, it's a solid 30 damage.
Yeah. Let me Google it real quick.
The 30 damage potential out of one clip, and the amount of clips you go through in one game, this is definitely making Sombra much more of a threat than she was. Because Sombra in early like season 1 was annoying as hell because of her passive, but then after she got all the nerfs, she kind of died down between with her pick rate. So giving her this buff is good. It's good. It makes her more of a damage character.
Yeah. So right now, yeah, the machine pistol has an ammo capacity of 60 rounds. So, and it had a maximum of 7 damage. So that makes her DPS while firing roughly 140. About 100 if you include her reload times, but that's a lot of burst damage.
Yeah.
So pretty much what they're doing is they're adding another half. So it brings it up a lot more for the max, about 30 damage, like you said. But they still have the hack target thing. So you deal more damage to people who are hacked. That's going to make this an even bigger buff.
Yep, definitely will.
So now I can, especially paired with the whole health pack hack duration buff, a 15-second buff, which is not a small buff. That's a pretty big buff. Like 15 seconds is a lot.
Yeah, no, that's really big. And honestly, this is a bigger defensive. It's a bigger defensive buff than it is an offensive buff because, as Sombra, you're generally in the back line trying to take out the supports, and before you do that, you'll generally hack a health pack and throw down your translocator.
Yeah.
And average fight, maybe 20 seconds. So you go in, you get the pick on the support, maybe one other pick while the rest of your team cleans up, you teleport out, and you still got 25 seconds of hack left on that health pack. And so by the time the team gets back, right, it's still probably going to be hacked. And so if you're going to be pushing them if you're gonna be pushing them back, I'm thinking more push game mode here. I'm thinking the health pack at a close spawn from Colosseo.
Yeah.
If they're coming back out after that, that health pack isn't available to them. So it's a bigger defensive buff than it is an offensive buff, if you ask me.
Yeah. But I can see her playstyle being a lot more like I'm gonna go into their back line, hack their health pack, so and then once I hack their health packs, I'm gonna go hack one of them and burst them down. If I'm getting shit on, teleport out. If they're getting shit on, they no longer have a health pack that they can go to.
Yeah.
So it just makes her more of puts her more in line of the I'm gonna go behind you and take you out, the silent assassin kind of thing.
Which is her playstyle.
So this is just a buff to her general playstyle and feel. And I'm all for it as long as they don't bring back the original hacked buff.
Yeah.
So if right now, as it sits, as it stands,
it's completely fine.
It's a completely fine change. Perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
So
Symmetra
just got the ultimate cost increase by 10%, actually.
10%, that's bigger than some of the other increases, but that's fine because Symmetra builds her ult really fast, especially if she's shredding through with her primary fire. That's not even adding on her turret damage, which is passive.
Yeah. And on top of that, Symmetra has a very defensive ult for an offensive character, but it plays into her kit very well because if you throw up your fucking wall and then throw turrets behind it, your turrets can shoot through the wall, but they can't. The enemy can't shoot your turrets. So I feel like having having it be up less often. As somebody who's decent at Sombra because of my fucking ridiculous tracking.
Symmetra.
Yeah, whatever. Symmetra. As somebody who's kind of ridiculous at Symmetra because of my tracking, not so much positioning or game sense, just being able to hold crosshair on somebody while they're moving. This is kind of like obviously a nerf, but it changes it from as a decent Symmetra, I can have my ult every team fight, roughly. This pretty much brings it up to being like maybe every other team fight.
Yeah.
So, and if you're a bad Symmetra, probably every 3 team fights.
Yeah. But general balance, that's not a bad change.
Not a bad change, because her ult is huge. It's a giant wall that has 5,000 health that goes through the entire map. I feel like having that take a little bit more.
It was 5,000. I think it's down to 2 or 3, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. Either way, it has a shitload of fucking health.
It does.
So,
however, Torbjorn turret base health reduced from 250 to 225. I'm all for this change.
Yes, I feel like.
But I felt like his turret having 250, that's more health than most squishies have. And, while it is stationary, if you got the entire team around it, there's been a lot of times where I get the turret within 25 health, and then I get pushed by their tank or their DPS or the Torbjorn's there pounding his hammer onto it. So...
yeah. It just reduces the time it takes to burst down the turret. They're nerfing the strongest character in the game, but at least at low ranks. So I feel like this is going to be something that a lot of people from gold and below can feel, but for me, playing in plat games, the turret's never really an issue. We're usually very good about oh, hey, there's a turret, just fucking, we have 3 people burst it down real quick. It's not really an issue. And especially in up the tiers Diamond, Masters, Grandmasters, top 500. I'm pretty sure the turret almost has nothing to do with the Torbjorn. It's the Torbjorn player's skill himself. Yeah. Right? So I feel like this is a nerf to the lower range, making him a little bit more easier to deal with at low low rank, but it's not really going to be noticeable at high rank.
Oh, yeah, I can agree with that.
Okay, cool. We agree on something.
Widowmaker nerfs, which is something that people have been wanting. Her health got reduced down to 175 again, which
Yes.
I'm all right with because Widowmaker should be much more of a glass cannon, and this definitely
Yeah.
definitely helps with that. That they shouldn't take, in my opinion, because we have differing opinions on the one shots. I don't think they should take her one shot away because that would take away from her character personality.
Hmm.
But this
I
is a good change without touching her damage.
so my opinion on Widowmaker is I feel differently about her now that I've actually like sat down and rationally thought about it. I feel like they shouldn't take away the one shot because you also have Hanzo who has a one shot. You have a lot of characters who can one shot, right? Uh so getting rid of all one shots probably not feasible because that's just going to be a massive nerf across the board.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like you should give players counterplay to a more
Like a
noticeable
sniper
counterplay.
flare.
Yeah, like sniper flare, a red dot where she's aiming. Like people are like, oh yeah, there's a huge red line showing where she is, and it's just like,
actually,
oh,
yeah,
but that only happens if she shoots you and misses.
yeah.
So
I think that there was a feature like that in one of the archive events where the sniper Talon officer, when she was aiming at you, you would have a laser sight being pointed at you. I feel like they should add a laser sight, make it a little bit more subtle when she's not in the ultimate, but when she is ulting, make it clear as day.
something I feel is probably not at a laser sight. Like obviously, like if you can see a big red line, like in the Battle for Olympus, they gave her a red laser sight that showed where she was looking, so you know, hey, I'm not going to go over there. I feel like that's a little too much. In the Battle for Olympus event, that was a good because she can literally freeze you and get a free kill.
Yeah.
So with still being able to move and everything in normal gameplay, I feel like just having a dot on like the wall or like the environment showing where she is aiming, you'd still have to look for it. You'd still have to notice it, but that would still at least give some counterplay.
Yeah.
If you have a Widowmaker just hard scoping at a fucking choke point, just waiting for somebody to walk around a corner.
Yeah.
Oh, obviously that wouldn't be a nerf to like insane master level or grandmaster level widows who can just like flick headshot. So it would just add a little bit more thought.
Counterplay.
Yeah, a little bit more thought and counterplay. So you can't just be hard scoped as Widow. So that's my opinion.
Yeah.
But honestly, reducing her health from 200 to 175, I'm okay with that. She is supposed to be a glass cannon.
Yeah.
So personally, I think they should a thing that I have thought of, make her reduce her damage after 100 meters. Have damage fall off.
That potentially.
Because 100 meters is a long range, and you have a sniper.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get cross-mapped by a Widow who's on a cheeky spot in Junkertown. So if you have a fall off starting at 100 meters, that's still a very long range. I feel like that would be fine. But again, I'm not a game dev. I'm not a professional Widow, so
it's fine.
It's fine as it is. Anna, you can go.
This is actually because playing through season 2, I had actually there was a clip that I remember telling you about that I was like, 4 seconds feels like such a long time. And it does not a lot of, I mean, there's Kiriko counterplay, but that's one character.
Yeah.
But like 4 felt too long, 3 felt too short, so they really met it right in the middle at 3.5, which is where I think it needs to be.
I think 3.5 is really good. I think you and I went over. Actually, no. I think that one ended up being a Junkerqueen ult, but pretty much if you anti somebody and Zen ult, they are pretty much not gonna get healed for the entire duration of his ult.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much what it was.
Yeah. And we looked at it and then we were just like, I think that's the same conversation that you were just like, I think they need to bring it down to 3.5. Because there's a little bit more counterplay to that. Like now,
when I was watching through that specific clip that we're talking about, I did get clipped by a Junkerqueen ult instead of a Onanade. But even if it was if it was 4 seconds, I'm still leaving with like 30 health.
Yeah.
As opposed to if it was 3.5, I'm at 120.
Yeah. So
it's a little bit different, but this is good for Ana. It's still a net nerf. However, still it's good. It's
it
good
introduces
change.
Not really counterplay, but it reduces her overall effect.
A little bit easier to play against.
Yeah. So instead of like if you get antied and you just walk away, like I do, like if I get antied, I walk away. I'm just like, I'm not gonna sit there and not be able to get healed and die. I'm just walking away. If I can have a character who can, and then but then you're out of the fight for 4 seconds, unless a fucking Kiriko pops out of fucking nowhere right next to you and throws down a Suzu, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like, I feel like being out of the fight for 4 seconds versus 3.5 seconds, perfectly fine. Now, obviously, if you're just diffing the other team, you're probably not going to notice it, and you just be like, oh, kill him.
All right, easy game.
Yeah, fuck it. But, yeah.
Good
but
on
also,
change.
Not only is it nerfing the anti, it also nerfs the buff, like where it doubles the healing. So now it also nerfs her healing capabilities burst wise. So, which I don't think really needed a nerf. I like it personally. I think it's a good thing to have for both teams. But well, obviously, if you're going against the enemy team and they have 4 seconds of, hey, I'm getting double the healing, it feels repressive. But it gives a little bit more counterplay to that. Anyways, moving on.
Brigitte, you want to take this one? You play more Brig than I do.
Yeah, I'll take this one. So, Repair Pack, healing over time reduced from 55 to 50. So, per second, you're only getting 50 health versus 55. I think this is fine. Because of the next buff, where applying a hair repair pack now instantly heals 25 health on impact.
So that's max. This is a net buff of 20 healing.
Yes,
what it is.
It is huge. I think early on when we started playing in season 1 of Overwatch 2, you were playing Genji, and I shot all 3 of my health packs into you while you were at low health, and the enemy team still killed you.
Yeah.
Because it just didn't go off fast enough. Now that if I spam all 3 of my health packs into somebody, they're getting at least 75 health instantaneously. That's huge.
And, this is good for Brig because all the supports were in a good spot and playable, except Brig was the only support that was a little bit niche with when you could play her.
Yeah.
With just the repair pack, not even getting into her rally buff yet, but just the repair pack change is huge because it allows her instant healing, kind of like how Baptiste has his... Oops, excuse me. Kind of like how Baptiste has his instant heal ability, or Ana can throw her nade at you. Kiriko has her Suzu she can throw at you, It finally gives Brig something where it's like, oh, wow, I need to heal someone now and there's no one around to use my flail on. Here, have 25 health and a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's finally an ability to be like, oh, you need healing now? There you go.
Yeah. So, like, in comparison to, like, other supports, almost every other support except for, like, Lucio and Zenyatta, unless he ults, have burst healing, right? Baptiste, Ana, Mercy's kind of...
Well, even with Lucio, he has the passive healing, but when he uses his amp it up ability, that's a burst. That's a pretty big burst heal to everyone.
Yeah, like it's still over time, but because it's such a huge boost to his normal healing over time, it's really good in
Yeah.
situations. Whereas Brig, she has the same healing passive that Lucio does by just existing, but she has to hit people.
Yeah.
She doesn't have any
And
burst
the,
healing.
what is it, 5 or 6 second, 7 second cooldown on her where she can fire her flail from range. That's still a skill shot, and it's still only 1 tick of healing, which only amounts to I think 20 or 19 healing
It's
across everyone.
it's 20 healing per second, and I think as long as you are within her range when the tick goes off, you get it for like 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's a net like 100, but because it's such a low. Actually, no, I don't think it's 20. I think it's like 16 health per second. So you're getting like 80 health over the next like 5 seconds, but that's not a lot.
Yeah.
Like if you're taking like small tickle damage in the middle of a team fight, that's going to sustain you. But if you're in the middle of the shit, like Orisa versus Orisa, Reinhardt versus Reinhardt, like it's a big brawl, the shit's going down. Like it's not enough to sustain anybody. And the repair packs didn't help because they're also overtime. There was no burst to it. Yeah. So I feel like this just brings her up a lot more into a playable burst healer status.
Yeah, and the ultimate cost being reduced is great for her as well.
Oh yeah.
That's just you're gonna have rally a little bit more often, which rallies are one of the best support ults, if you ask me.
Being able to give your team temporary HP, the green bar.
Wait, is it temporary HP or is it armor now?
It is going into Overwatch 2, they changed it to be just temporary HP. It's no longer armor.
Okay, then I take back my statement about it being the best support ultimate. That was with me thinking it was armor.
Yeah. If you are playing a very brawly team comp, it is a good ultimate. Is it great? No, but it is good. But because the rest of her kit is kind of meh, and it's not up as often, and as Brig, it is hard to, build her ult because you have to be up close and personal. And a lot of, like, if you haven't noticed, I've noticed this, a lot of Overwatch 2 playstyle is I'm going to be all the way back here shooting you from far away. That is a very hard playstyle for Brig. So
I disagree with that, actually.
So I've seen.
Well, no, because what you're saying is in Overwatch 2, a lot of strat is shooting from far away. That's only between fights when you're doing that. When you're actually engaged in a fight, unless the other team is playing a very divey comp, you're generally in their face, so Brig gets a lot of value there. It was Overwatch 1 to where the entire fight was having an Orisa and a Sigma on high ground of Eichenwald's second point, while you got while they're just shooting down at you, and you can't really do much against it because you're a Reinhardt trying to push the cart, right?
Yeah.
And you only had D.va to go up and contest.
Well, the thing with that is, right, so even though in between fights or whatnot, right, you're at long range trying to just do poke damage. All these characters are getting value from that. Like every extra little bit of damage that you do from long range is a little bit of extra ult charge. Brig just kind of stands there.
Yeah.
Getting her the passive ult charge. So it's even if it's just between fights, like characters can charge their ultimate between
ult except Brig. I agree with you on that, but it was the generalization of poking being one of the main strats. That's just between fights.
Yeah, that's just between fights. That's my bad. I worded that wrong.
It's all good. That's why I call you out.
All right, but yeah, altogether, I think Brig is in a playable. She is no longer just an. If I see it used to be if I see a Brig, I'm immediately thinking this guy either has to be the best fucking Brig in the world or he's throwing.
Or I'm going to bully them all game.
Yeah. Whereas now it's okay, cool. Because last patch we also saw her get a buff to her shield capacity. So now she's at 300 shields. True. Plus this. I think she's just getting better.
She's in a good spot.
She's in a good spot. Yeah. All right.
Good Brig buff. Lucio, ultimate cost reduced. It's not too much to really talk about there, to be honest. He's fine. However, Mercy.
Huge Mercy change.
Oh my god, am I so happy. I don't give a fuck about Mercy players. Okay? No, except for Flightless Kiwi, Anguish K. You were my Mercy main back in my Mercy pocket for my Phara in 2017. I love you.
Shout out to you. But yeah,
Shout out to you.
this is a huge change to not only how effective she is, but also her playstyle. Like,
Yeah. Oh, and let's read down all of these and then discuss.
okay, so you have Guardian Angel. The cooldown is increased from 1.5 to 2.5, so they put an extra second on that. Holding backwards directional input and canceling the ability with the jump. So pretty much you're flying to somebody, you decide it's a bad idea, you decide to go backwards. Now moves 20% slower, so you can't just go back to where you were at the same speed you were trying to go there. Caduceus staff, healing per second reduced from 55 to 45, but healing is increased by 50% for allies under half health. And then they removed the normal support regeneration passive, but gave her her own special passive.
They didn't remove the support passive. They removed Mercy's passive, which she's had since Overwatch 1, which is the ability to regen. What happened is the support passive and her passive actually stacked onto each other, and so she was regenning much faster than any of the other supports were.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
All right. Anyways, they gave her a new passive.
Yeah.
Mercy heals herself for 25% of healing done with Caduceus staff.
Which I'm fine with. That means you're not going to be regenning all the time. You only when you're actively in a fight.
Yeah. So pretty much this makes it to where if you are damage boosting somebody like a Phara or an Echo or something like that, just being their pocket, it is going to be easier to just take you down. But at the same time, it makes you want to heal people more so you have more sustain.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is going to be a net, like obviously it's a net nerf. But I feel like this is going to also nerf the damage boost. Not directly, like numbers wise, but how often you use it because you need to heal people for your own sustain.
Yeah. But actually I saw a tweet from a Mercy player today about this change, and they were like, a lot of times when I'm pocketing someone or I'm healing, I'll be having damage boost on them until they're 50 health anyway. So being able to have that damage boost on and then getting the boost of healing when they're under 50 health, it was a nice change to whoever this was, but I could definitely see that being more of a play style now, where damage boost whenever you're above half health, which is kind of a general Mercy rule, but it's going to become a little bit more prominent if you ask me.
Yeah, so they're pretty much, what's the word, incentivizing that play style now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
and I enjoy the fact that her movement is getting nerfed, because Mercy movement, especially not just the skill ceiling for Mercy's movement, was absolutely busted.
Yes.
So if you could move around with Mercy, you're not gonna die. You're never gonna die unless a Widowmaker shoots you in the head.
Exactly. Like I think I kill about 5% of the Mercies that I try to kill. Like, if I'm actively trying to aim at and kill a Mercy, even if I'm hitting my shots, most of the time, because of their movement, I am missing shots, or they just move to an area where I can no longer shoot them. With that ability having such a huge change, like a 1 second addition to a 1.5 second ability, up to 2.5 seconds, holy shit, is that huge. That's a huge fucking change. I'm glad to see it. So now she's going to be a lot less mobile. So, but
and heals generally less. But
if you're only healing people when they're above half health, yes.
Yeah, but if you're jumping from teammate to teammate, which is generally how you should, you shouldn't be too noticeable.
Yeah. But the one thing that I did see, I think they even showed this. I forget if they showed this in the trailer or something like. Not the trailer. I saw somebody on YouTube it's been a video that's been going around, but the devs were showing what the Mercy changes can allow her to do, and it showed her in her ultimate, Valkyrie, when you have the splitting beams, she still gets all that healing. So if she's healing her teammates in Valk, she can tank Bob entirely.
That's also pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because before, Bob would look at a Valking Mercy and laugh.
Exactly. So now it makes her more...
She's a lot more survivable on her own.
She's a lot more survivable on her own, but also you can use yourself as a human fucking shield.
Not the best Mercy strategy, but you could.
You could. It's not the best strategy. I'm not saying, hey, fucking do the get down, Mr. President, all the time. But if you're ulting, you get in the way of some shit,
Yeah.
Just like, oh, hey, the McCree's ulting, fucking get in the way of that shit. Don't let him get burst down by shit. Yeah. Just fucking stand in that. Yeah. Just stand in front of him. It aims through his shit anyways. I shot someone through a tree. I couldn't even see them. High Noon saw him. That's all that matters.
Yeah, Mercy general nerf, I'm okay with it.
I am definitely.
You know how I feel about Mercies.
Honestly, I feel like Mercy. I never get mad at a Mercy player, right? Especially if they're doing well, because
yeah, it's hard to do.
It's hard, right? It's hard being a Mercy player. So the thing is, so you have someone like Zen, right? A lot of this, the value you get from a Zenyatta is from his damage output, not from his healing. But in the exact opposite of that, you have Mercy. But she also helps with damage output. But instead of having it be on a specific person on the enemy team, it's now on the damage that this one person is doing. So it's a little different. But she is super mobile and nigh unkillable. Whereas Zenyatta has high damage output by himself. You can solo a lot of people in the game. But he just has no movement. Whereas you have Mercy, who has all of the movement. So I feel like them nerfing that movement, making her a little bit less difficult to deal with, and having her flying around all the fucking time. I once saw a clip of somebody in fucking top 500. The Mercy player in top 500, you could not shoot them because they were moving around so much.
I do follow one or two Mercies on Twitter, and the clips they post are pretty... They're fun to watch, because the Mercy movement, when you've mastered it, oh man, it's really fun to watch. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. But I think I was watching, I think it was a TikTok from J3, right? He's like a top 500 DPS player.
I am well aware of J3.
Yeah, he was watching a Mercy movement, and he's just like, how the fuck am I supposed to shoot this? I'm arguably one of the best players in the world at this game, or at least in the top 0.1%.
He was.
I can't even deal with this. What the fuck? So it's just fuck that. I'm glad for the nerf. I'm sorry, Mercy mains. You guys are wonderful people. But fuck Mercy.
I'm not sorry.
Yeah, I'm happy with this change. It changes her playstyle, but it doesn't remove the core of what her character is. So.
All right. Moving on to Moira.
Yeah, Moira has coalescence.
Reduced cost
by 5%.
That's fine. That's general across the board.
Yeah.
But Zen, the last hero. Ammo increased from 20 to 25. You're a Zen player. Please tell me your thoughts.
I love this change. I cannot tell you how many times I get caught out reloading and I just die because of it. Because he has a pretty long reload animation. It's 2 seconds.
It takes 2 hands to clap.
Exactly. So just decreasing the times that you need to reload and get caught out, so much better. Also, your charge up ability takes 5 ammo. You can now do it
takes you
5 times. Now. Yeah, you can now do it 5 times before you have to reload.
Yeah.
So I feel like I did read the developer comment on this one earlier because, I'm a Zen player. I actually wanted to read what they thought about it. And they're just like, in it says that he's skating like the razor's edge between being absolutely unplayable or absolutely broken, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind like, personally, I think that's where a character should skate, right? Like,
Yep.
that's exactly where you want a character to be. So they're just like, yeah, we're not going to change anything else about his kit because he's already on that razor's edge, but we're going to make it to where you have to reload less. I'm okay with that. This is kind of like the mercy. It's a little bit more impactful than the mercy buff of giving her 5 more bullets in her pistol. Because, like, honestly, like, I have never, even myself, when I play mercy, I have never shot somebody as mercy unless I'm in my ult.
Yeah.
I think I've done it
that is
once.
Where we differ.
I do it in certain occasions if, like, I'm getting dove alone and the person's at, like, 2 health.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I know I can kill them if I just pull out my pistol, I'll do it. But most of the time I try to just get away and survive.
Yeah. But that is the end of the patch notes.
Yeah, that is
that
is the end.
A lot of good thoughts, a lot of good changes. It's changing a lot generally in the game, so the first week or so when you're playing, you're gonna have to feel out the game a little bit to feel the changes and then adjust your play style to them. But these changes are for the better. The video that you guys watched yesterday, which is my season 3 saving Overwatch 2, that a lot of these changes are a big key factor in that. I didn't go over in that video because that's why you're watching this, but a lot of these changes and the other changes I talked about yesterday are making Overwatch so much better of a game. And it's nice to see the devs caring. It really is.
Yeah. The devs have definitely stepped up their game within the last, like, month with being, like, very honest and open about, like, what they're trying to do. Yeah, they're communicating a lot more.
Yeah.
So I feel like even though we're not getting a lot of, like, patch notes or, like, patches, even just being, like, communicating with the community is good.
Yeah.
Like, just being like, hey, we're not able to, like, this is taking a while to actually code in and deal with and work through and get approved, but, like, we're working on these changes. This is the changes that we're seeing. Like, they even said that, like, one of the, they're taking out the map pool concept in season 4.
Yeah.
I'm already looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of things in season 4 I'm already looking forward to, which just comes with dev communication.
Exactly. So it's just like, not only because they are communicating are people hyped for the changes and looking forward to season 3 now that it's here. They're also looking forward to the next season.
Yeah.
Which, with the longevity of a game in mind, that's what you want. You want somebody to be excited about playing your game in the future, not just now.
Yeah.
So, I feel like that's a good change. Now, to be fair, they kind of have a few fucked up things right now, which is why we're excited for the future, because they're getting removed or changed or whatnot like that.
Yeah, they're doing something about it.
They're doing something about it.
Instead of adding Echo to the game and then forgetting about it for 3 years.
Yeah. So
I'm still mad about it, even though they were working on this game. We're really gonna add the last hero fucking 2 years before you release? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard a lot of salty people being like, yeah, no, seasons like 1 through 30 were perfectly fine, but the last 3 years have been dry because they just forgot about the game.
Yep. Yes, they did.
Imagine
why
if
I quit for about 1.5 years, 2 years.
That's why a lot of people quit. Like, I don't know a lot of people who were playing at the end. Like, even Siegel, an ex-Overwatch League competitor, switched to playing fucking Apex Legends.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is, like, top tier in skill level in this game, and he played it for a living, and he went to a different game. So, yeah, no, Season 3 has definitely breathed a fresh breath of life into this game. and I'm excited to play it. Fun fact: I have not played it yet. I literally have launched it, seen what
Same.
all the bullshit was, read through the patch notes, did this, and then I'm going to play the game.
Yeah, no, and I don't even know if I'll probably play a game or two tonight, but I'm probably be editing for the rest of the night, so.
Yeah, same. So
yeah. But yeah, anyway, thank you for watching both on Dorian's channel and on mine. We appreciate you being here. Be sure to leave a like, leave a subscribe, leave a comment if you're feeling frisky enough, all right?
or
Tell
dislike
us,
if you hated our opinions, let us know.
yeah, but all of our links should be in the description for our Twitch, any of our other socials, so feel free to check those out. I have a TikTok that I post a whole bunch of small clips onto if you're down for just small little bits of consummation of content.
I also have a TikTok that I don't post to.
Yeah, but yeah, you can check all that stuff out.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
It does. It does. All right.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
see you guys later.
Have a good one, homies. Bye-bye.
Bye.